Hi, I'm Arn Menconi. I'm a U.S. citizen like you. And if you've turned this on, you're trying to figure out what's going on in our country and you're looking for help. I know I look like the guy who's on the YouTube video who's going to try to teach you how to make a lot of money. I just want us to talk about what it means to get democracy back. I know you know this, but this is my response to what I watched in the presidential State of the Union address. So let me read to you from my teleprompter, and I'm not as good as he is. But I'll start off with this. Did the President of the United States just get out of watching the movie The Big Short? Because he started talking about corporate profits are at record-breaking levels. Acted shocked and said the recklessness of Wall Street. He went on to say that that corporations are avoiding paying taxes and putting them in offshore bank accounts. And then said Congress needs to do something about this. Well, President Obama, you've been President of the United States for 7 years. My God, Congress's approval ratings are at 10%. Does anyone believe these people anymore? Hell no. Of course not. We need to start taking back the trillions of dollars that multinational corporations and the super rich are stealing from us by not paying taxes and putting them in offshore bank accounts to the tune of $3.5 trillion. We need to put it into the things that we need for a better future and a better country, such as early child care development, education, free college, single-payer health care, livable wages, affordable housing, not affordable prisons. We aren't broke. We're just being lied to. Until we have leaders that arrest the crooks and the liars and rewrite tax codes, we are going to see our society fall apart. There are 535 representatives, 1 president, and 4 lobbyists to each one of them. This campaign season 2016, nearly $20 billion will be spent in national elections. And that money is coming from corporations and very wealthy. Citizens like us, like me, we don't have our own lobbyists. And we certainly don't have representation when it's being paid for. The corporations are getting the representation. The super rich are getting the representation. And when they get representation, the lion's share of the wealth and tax codes and regulations and governance is going to them. But we have something better. We have our dignity and we have our fight. If we could elect a black president on a promise of hope and change, then we, the people, can take back our government from a global corporate mafia. Look, we should start calling this gang banksters, just like gang bangers. They don't see countries. They don't have borders. They have their own corporate governance bodies called board of directors. And their constituency is their shareholders. So it goes beyond borders. Don't think that these people are operating inside of a country. They're operating inside of their bank accounts. Think about this when you listen to politicians. They're taking millions of dollars from oil companies, Wall Street, big agriculture, big pharma, the military industry, and AIPAC and the NRA, to name just the top group. President Obama's campaign fundraising was run by the former president of U.S. Bank, Robert Wolf. Look him up. Wolf is his golfing buddy and spent the last State of the Union address with the president. So when Obama's making promises after promises after promises at the podium in his last year, remember that he's had the bully pulpit for 7 years, an executive order for 7 years. His first promise when he took office, I don't know if you remember this, was he signed into law to close Guantanamo. Guantanamo just celebrated its 14th anniversary on Monday. He still hasn't closed Guantanamo. He is facilitating a free trade agreement called the Trans-Pacific Partnership that is going to give corporations essentially their own judicial system. And when you have your own judicial system, you make sure you win every court case. He has gone ahead and not ended wars. He's facilitated endless wars. He has championed the Keystone Pipeline. He has put in record-breaking arms sales at nearly $1 trillion. He's increased surveillance. And he's arrested more whistleblowers than any president in history. Obamacare has allowed for increased profits to insurance companies. So Obama will have continued bombing 7 countries while winning the Nobel Peace Prize. There has been 23,000 missiles in the last year and a half. And over 4,000 people, innocent people, have died from his drone attacks. Now, a part of me wants to apologize for being so hard on Barack Obama. But I was a Democrat who campaigned for Barack Obama as a county commissioner. That means I went door to door. That means I made phone calls. That means I stood up and defended him against people who thought he was a socialist or a Muslim and didn't come from this country. Well, he is no different than any person who has taken power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And these politicians are being run by corporations, not by the people. So this is an indictment on our governing system that is no longer a democracy. And I know you're laughing at me right now, because of course you know this when approval ratings are at 10%. This is a global, what's called a global totalitarianism. And each and every one of us has the power to take back America. Before the inequality gap goes completely off the cliff and wars expand into new areas. And quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing politicians talk about global warming and trying to do something about climate justice. This is how easy it is to break them at their own game. Because when you turn on the lights, the cockroaches run. So let's turn on the lights. Let's flood democracy. Let's commit treason with a reason. Just start doing things like this. As silly as they might seem, people start to listen to this. And the people who start to listen to this are the elected officials who are afraid of people. Because people have power. And when we use our power, not by voting once every 4 years, but by speaking out regularly. Let me give you one small example. Do you remember how Jon Stewart used a hashtag and was able to get the emergency workers, the 9/11 emergency workers, permanent health care benefits by going on and shaming them on their Twitter pages? The politicians all have Twitter accounts, and they all have great stories with wonderful pictures behind them, how they're at a bridge opening or they're with a soldier. Start linking to their Twitter accounts and start getting your friends to respond to their Twitter accounts and start calling their phone numbers and do something like this, because once more and more of us start to expose the lies and start pointing out the facts, like a campaign manager who used to be the president of one of the world's largest banks, who's sitting there with Barack Obama, and we're listening to a man that we thought was going to defend us, not Wall Street and multinational corporations. They start to get scared. So I appreciate you listening to this response to the President's State of the Union. If you liked it, share it with your friends. Thank you. I'm Arn Menconi, and I'm a U.S. citizen, and I approve this message.